Hey everybody, it's Party Elite here with another episode of Total Breakdown. We have a rather epic battle today as Shetland Apache takes to the field with his Beastmen against the Norscans of Morgengrad. We begin of course with talk of composition and deployment, and as you can see it is rather ridiculous. Over the course of this battle it gets even more crazy, so let's pause it for a second over here as a lot of movement does take place more or less immediately, and take a look at the Beastmen first. Kazarek the One-Eye is all the way up front over here atop his chariot, Vanguard deployed, interesting positioning there, and we have some Bray Shaman of Shadows support back here as well atop the chariot. The front line, if we can call it that, consists of these Goreherds with shields on either flank, and then we've got the Blackhorns Ravagers over here, Goreherd with Shield Regiment of Renown, they can stock up, and we also have the Korux Man Rippers over here, Bestigor Herd Regiment of Renown, they are anti-large and have charge defense against large as well. Meanwhile, back here, we've got these Ungor Spearmen Herd with their shields, and we also have these Butchers of Kalkengard, the Minotaurs with Shield Regiment of Renown, they can cause terror as well as fear, and they have regeneration capabilities, and of course, Regiments of Renown all have better stats. Over here, meanwhile, on the right flank, you can see some interesting deployment going on. We've got a pair of Senegor back here, and a pair in the trees over here, and then we've got two units of Harpies up in the air as well. And I think the reason for this mixed deployment is just to maybe tell the opponent that, hey, look, you've seen everything I'm hiding to that flank over there. Don't worry about the trees. There's nothing tucked away over there. Now let's take a look at the Norscans. They are being led by Throg over here, while up front we have these Marauder Horsemen, Vanguard deployed ever so slightly, I think, able to push forward and get a little bit of early damage in. We have the Marauders over here, a fairly weak unit, but they'll be able to hold the line, especially if they start to get enraged, and these Marauders with great weapons will cause some armor-piercing damage, of course, and these guys can all do a fair bit of work against the standard Beastmen front line. On either flank, we have the Marauder Spearmen guarding against potential Senegor and Harpies and the like, while we also have these Marauder Hunters over here tossing their axes, their armor-piercing axes that also reduce the effectiveness of shields. And in the middle here, a pair of Skin Wolves. These guys are physically resistant, and of course they have regeneration, and they're anti-large as well. While all the way at the back, bringing up the rear, these Marauder Champions able to push in and cause a fair bit of damage. They are armored, and they have a fair bit of melee defensive capabilities as well. While tucked away in the trees all the way back here, you can see we've got three units of Norscan Warhounds, one of them being the Beasts of Tashnar, the anti-large variant. We also have these Marauders in the trees as well, maybe hoping that the Beastmen might come this way, and they'll be able to push in and flank into some Ungor Raiders perhaps, but we'll see how this all breaks down. Again, very interesting deployments over here. Let's kick things off and see exactly what both sides do. You can see the Beastmen immediately pushing forward, getting ready to engage, while the Norscans on the other side of the field doing the same with all of their forces, except for the little bit tucked away in the trees, of course, keeping them hidden, I think, for as long as possible. You can see the Marauder Horsemen over here pushing forward ever so slightly, hoping to use their range capabilities and get some damage in their Throg, meanwhile pushing off to the side as well. Maybe a little worried that something might be hiding over here, pushing in close enough to scout, but you can see the Beastmen very confidently pushing off to the side over there, these Senegor as well, pushing up ever so carefully, while the Marauder Horsemen now see their opportunity, decide to move in and hope to get some shots and get a little bit of damage, and you can see those Senegor very confidently have pushed into position over here, as these Marauder Horsemen, again, confidently just ready to fire away. They move forward. Easy situation here, easy pickings, but take a look at this. Take a look at the reaction as these Senegor reveal themselves, coming out from the trees. Immediately, you can see the Marauder Horsemen realize the situation. They decide to pull back into safety. A very narrow gap over here. These Senegor are trying their best to close this line as quickly as possible, and these guys are taking such an acute angle over here, trying to minimize the chance of these guys closing the gap, but in comes the Melkoth's Mystifying Miasma, slowing these guys down just enough, allowing these Senegor to push right through. They have to commit to this situation over here now, holding these guys back, hoping that the other unit of Marauder Horsemen will survive as a result, and you can see these Marauder Horsemen are completely melting away. These Senegor ultimately give up on the situation, decide to pull back into safety as the Skin Wolves are moving in to respond as well. So this beautiful maneuvering over here from both sides of the field as these Marauder Horsemen completely give up on the fight, and so the Skin Wolves pull back into safety as these Harpies now move forward and start to bait some shots, try to keep these guys back here involved in the rear, keeping these Skin Wolves, I think, as well, worried about what might happen back there should they commit too far forward, and the Beastmen continue to move forward as well. Once more, form up and get ready to engage the Norscans on their terms, and again, the Marauder Horsemen here pushing forward, looking for an opportunity to get involved. That ace has been revealed over here. Wonderfully done. They're pulling out of those trees and now firing away into the backs of these Marauder Horsemen of these Goreherd with shields, and the Goreherd with shields turn around, hope to, I think, face their shields forward and also push these Marauder Horsemen back. You can see these guys have rallied and decided to come back into the fight, but as they try to get some shots in, they actually decide to rout once more. The Skin Wolves now moving in as well, so these Goreherd with shields need to pull back into safety, otherwise they will get shut down very quickly. Those shots as well causing a fair bit of damage, and we do have these Ungor Spearmen Herd over here ready to move in to these Skin Wolves if they decide to get too aggressive, and right now it looks like they are getting pretty aggressive. In comes a nice use of the Enfeebling Foe, reducing the abilities of these Skin Wolves, and these Senegor now as well pushing in. You can can see, trying to take advantage of that enfeebling foe, but unfortunately, it may have been wasted as those guys turn around into safety again. Beautiful micromanagement over here, beautiful awareness of what's going on the field and the actual chances, and you can see right now, a wonderful charge from these Skin Wolves as they push right in to these Goreherd with shields, start beating away at their skulls, at their shields, their axes. None of it matters as they get tossed back. These Goreherds are not having a good time at all. They're dropped to about 50% health right now, thanks to some of that javelin fire coming in as well from the Marauder Horsemen. But you can see back here, we've got these Ungor Spearmen herd ready to push in as well and hopefully cause some damage to these Skin Wolves. The enfeebling foe is almost done. There it goes. And so in comes another cast now instead of Melkot's Mystifying Miasma, hoping to pin these Skin Wolves in place, getting these Black-Horned Ravagers in there as well as the Ungor Spearman herd. We've got the Centaur pushing in as well, trying to cause a little bit of damage as well. You can see over here they're slowed down, so they're not able to pull back as cleanly as before, and they're just taking a touch of damage. But you can see over here we've got these Marauder Horsemen now throwing their javelins into these Blackhorns Ravagers, into their shields, so it's giving them a fair bit of protection, but unfortunately these Skin Wolves are ultimately able to pull back into safety and get away. So nice attempts over there as these Harpies now dive into these Marauder Horsemen again, just trying to keep them occupied, try to scare them off once more, but we do have the Marauder Hunters firing away at these Harpies. Meanwhile, you can see over here these Beastmen units are just sort of moving off to the side over here. This interesting engagement not really happening head-on, taking care of this left flank first as these Marauders get hit by the enfeebling foe. An upgraded cast there, increasing the duration as these Senegor go barreling through these Marauders. There's not much the Marauders can do. They were in the middle of a charge. They take a fair bit of a beating in that initial charge from the Senegor, and unless the Skin Wolves turn around and provide some assistance, the Marauders are going to have a terrible time, especially as the Butchers of Kalkengard are right there, and the Blackhorns Ravagers and these other Senegor as well push right through. In comes a little bit of support over here, and a beautiful cast of the Flaming Head, the Flaming Skull. I always misname this, but that's completely irrelevant because take a look at how much damage it's going to do here as it burns through all of these Senegor, burns through these Ungor Spearmen herd, and makes its way as well towards the Butchers of Kalkengard. And just as a reminder, the Butchers of Kalkengard do have regeneration, which means they're a bit more susceptible to fire damage as well. And take a look at this. These Senegor are completely melting away, literally as well as figuratively, and at the same time we have these Skin Wolves responding, pushing in with a nice charge into these Blackhorns Ravagers as well as the Gore Herd with shields. These Senegors have dropped to about 50 to 25% health. We've got these Ungor Spearmen herd as well, down by about 25%, while over here these Gore Herd with shields are more or less eliminated, as well as the Blackhorns Ravagers. The Butchers of Kalkengard, meanwhile, pushing in against the Skin Wolves, taking a bit of a risk there, traveling right through this fiery path, but hoping to get some damage in and scare off those Skin Wolves. Meanwhile, out from the trees, you can see we've got the Norscan Warhounds pouring forth, trying to get some damage in, take advantage of the pressure being applied over here right now, but the Marauders over here are giving up on the fight. Great cast over there. That cast did a lot of damage. In come those Norscan Warhounds, and they're trying to get rid of these Blackhorns Ravagers. In comes a little bit of support as well. Cascading Fire Cloak, unfortunately wasted on a unit that immediately routed, and over here again you can see we get Melkot's Mystifying Miasma, just trying to slow these guys down as they begin to rout, or begin to fall back rather, I should say. And over here, meanwhile, Korok's Manrippers being chased away by the Marauders with great weapons, while the Senegor are pushing in now, trying to intercept and cause some damage wherever possible, pushing into these Marauders with great weapons. And take a look at this. We get a charge from the side rear over here, causing a touch of damage, and this other unit of Senegors as well, beaten and bruised as they are, still deciding to charge right into a very dangerous unit over here, trying to remove the Marauders with great weapons, remove their armor-piercing capabilities before they're able to get enraged and get the advantages that actually provides. So good job over there, dropping their health, dropping their morale significantly, and then the Senegors turn around and try to provide some support against these Norscan Warhounds who are currently beating away, or eating away, I guess, at these Butchers of Kalkengard. Those Butchers need to pull back into safety. They are not in an ideal situation, but the Skin Wolves do get terrified off, thankfully, so the Butchers should be all right now, but the Marauder Horsemen, they're firing away, while back here you can see the Harpies decided to dive into these Marauder Hunters and are being, well, they are being punished for it. However, they did manage to get a fair bit of damage done to these Marauder Hunters before the Harpies actually get their morale reduced to, well, next to nothing. They're wavering right now, but a couple more shots will take care of them. Throg, meanwhile, is having a bit of a field day over here, just beating away at some of these Goreherd with shields. Their shields are not going to protect them, of course, from the massive hammer of Throg. He's just beating at these guys, and you can see he's still at full health as well, and not having any trouble at all, using Foe Seeker, I think, to keep vigor up, able to close gaps as well like that. Well, over here you can see we've got the Beasts of Tashnar now moving in to intercept the Senegor as they're diving in on the Femir Balefiend of Fire. That magic has caused a lot of damage already, and you can see we have Kazarek the One-Eye as well as the Senegor here trying to take care of the Femir Balefiend, but in come the Butchers of Kalkengard trying to intercept the Beasts of Teshnar. In come the Skin Wolves as well. The Butchers of Kalkengard have put themselves in a very dangerous situation as all of these guys are very anti-large, but fortunately the Butchers of Kalkengard are very much nearly at full health, so they're coming out on top. We also have Korok's Man Rippers here moving in to provide some assistance, and at the same time some magical support as well, but the Beasts of Teshnar, I believe, were the ones hit there. No, it was the Skin Wolves that were hit by the Enfeebling Foe, as well as Melkoth's Mystifying Miasma, dropping their capabilities as well as their speed over here, causing a fair bit of damage. In comes another Burning Skull, Flaming Head, whatever its name might be, but this one too is going to do a fair bit of damage as it travels right through Korok's Man Rippers, as well as the Butchers of Kalkengard once more. They have regeneration, which makes them ever so susceptible to fire damage. Their health drops to about 50%, while as we zoom out, you can see the Beastmen are in a very precarious situation. They are in a tough spot as the Marauders, or rather as all of the Norskins, I should say, start to get enraged. They get better capabilities in battle, of course. The physical resistance comes in at one point as well. Their leadership buffs as well, so they're going to start really toppling over all of these Beastmen if they're allowed to live and fight. You can see, meanwhile, these Butchers of Kalkengard need to pull back into safety as some bile comes in, I think, from Throg there, causing a last little bit of damage, but Throg is about to dive into a pretty dangerous situation if he decides to go in to these Korok's Man Rippers. He is pretty isolated as well. We've got the Brave Shaman of Shadows able to pull some magic in there as well, so a dangerous spot to be sure, but you can see we've got the Beastmen actually forming up once more. We've got them lining up over here and over here, hoping, I think, for a nice flanking opportunity. Throg decides to push in towards the Brave Shaman of Shadows, and take a look at the damage being done there, both to health and to morale. In comes the Marauders as well, and Throg uses Foe Seeker to make sure he's able to keep up with this Brave Shaman as it turns around to retreat. Kazurak decides to dive in alongside the Senegor to try and provide some support over here and defeat Throg. In come these Butchers of Kalkengard as well. Throg's in a bit of a trouble situation, as are these Marauders over here, but they are getting some support with Cascading Fire Cloak, keeping their melee defense up as well as their armor-piercing damage. And you can see over here, we've got the Brave Shaman of Shadows pulling around, hitting these guys with Melkoth's Mystifying Miasma, and trying to get a nice charge over here as Blackhorn's Ravagers move in as well, trying to get some damage to these Marauders with great weapons. And over here, you can see we've got these Ungor Spearmen Herd completely giving up on the fight. The Skin Wolves making very quick work of them, with the Senegor as well looking for an opportunity to dive in somewhere as these Marauder Horsemen continue to fire away and scare those guys off. Wavering now, very low on morale. In comes another Burning Skull, Burning Head, call it what you will. Watch as it completely ravages these units over here. No chance for those unfortunate Beastmen units, but in comes a nice rear charge from the Senegor once more, hoping to cause, I think, that last little bit of morale damage that just brings about terror over here. As you can see, the Harpies as well diving in, just trying to get that morale damage to tip the battle in favor of the Beastmen. Throg over here in a bit of a trouble spot again. These Man Rippers are anti-large. Throg, of course, is quite large. Cascading Fire Cloak goes down, keeping his melee defense really high up to make sure he survives, as we've got these Ungor Spearmen Herd pushing in as well. This could be a dangerous situation for Throg, and this could completely turn the battle in favor of the Beastmen. You can see, though, Kazurak is also in a bit of a trouble spot over here. He has used Scourge. Throg, trying to get away over here, is fully surrounded. These Butchers of Kalkengard giving chase as well, hoping to cut him down and reduce the Norskins' will to fight. But we have these Marauder Horsemen now moving in to melee because they're completely out of ammunition. They haven't been taken care of. They're still at full health. And back here as well, you can see we've got these Marauder Hunters just tossing away their axes, I think, hoping to take out Kazurak the One-Eye over here, drop Beastmen leadership. And you can see over here, threading the needle over here, the Brave Shaman of Shadows, or at least trying to, but ultimately getting caught up by these Marauder champions, trying to drive through those guys. And the Femur Balefiend, now very close to giving up on the fight, has been terrified as these Butchers of Kalkengard go diving through these poor, unfortunate Marauders. But I think their ultimate target is actually these Marauder Hunters, hoping to prevent some of that range support from coming through and cause that morale damage over here. So take a look at that. These Marauder Hunters very quickly giving up as these Senegors back here as well turn around, able to dive in. But we have these Beasts of Teshnar, anti-large as they are, able to dive right in as well. Very good awareness there, very quick response time. These Senegor are not going to have a good time as those charges come through. Beautifully done over there. You can see at the same time this Brave Shaman is trying to get away from Throg, but Throg is delivering an absolute beating, trying to get rid of that magical support. As over here you can see we've got these Senegor completely giving up on the fight as they rout. Kazurak as well in a bit of a dangerous spot. Again, these anti-large units are quite threatening. In come these Senegor for a nice rear charge again. Still hoping, I think, to take care of these Marauder Hunters, getting that rear charge in there as those Beasts of Teshnar pull away, and ultimately getting these guys to get terrified and routing them off the field. But is that going to be enough? You can see Kazurak over here just barely surviving, pulling off into safety. We've got all of these units maybe rather uselessly chasing away Korok's Man Rippers, but trying to ensure that they're not able to return to the fight. While back here as well, you can see the Ungor Spearmen Herd desperately trying to return to the central clump and provide some support to Kazurak the One-Eye here as he courageously dives forth once more into these Norscan individuals over here. The Butchers of Kalkengard have routed. They've completely given up on the fight. They're very close to shattering as well. In comes some Senegor. The Femur Balefiend is of course capable in melee if push comes to shove. In comes Throg as well, very capable in melee with his massive hammer over there. It seems as though the Beastmen have lost. They put up a good fight, but a valiant defeat. Both sides fought exceptionally well in this battle, taking advantage of the opponent's mistakes when possible, maneuvering into ideal positions to set up ideal engagements, and exploiting the winds of magic to great effect. The flaming head, skull, whatever you want to call it, was particularly crucial and impressive, and each time it was used, it caused a lot of damage. The Beastmen seemed to have the upper hand at first, but when the Norscans are fully enraged, the physical resistance alongside the other buffs can make enough of a difference to tip things in their favor. There was a lot of angry Norscans on the field today. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content and keep sending in those battle replays. I do think it's one of the best ways to learn, and it's always nice to highlight such amazing battles from the community. I'd also like to thank all of my patrons for supporting the channel every month. It makes a massive difference in keeping this channel alive. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you on the battlefield.